Hey guys and girls, on this video I'm going to be talking about episode 6 of Cruel Summer. The episode is called An Ocean Inside Me, full spoilers from the start as always. Now the title kind of hints at probably my only issue with the episode, and that is then there is a couple of clunky moments of dialogue, a bit sort of melodramatic, a bit over the top. So An Ocean Inside Me, for example, that refers to Cindy at one point talking to her son Derek, describing her sort of emotions around the whole Jeanette thing. So there's just one or two lines of dialogue like that with Cindy that I think took me out of the episode a little bit, but there's a line later with Angela. But besides that, it's another really solid episode, and it focuses really more on Cindy, which is a good thing. A character who you previously didn't know much about, or you kind of had an opinion that they weren't that important or that interesting, like I had with Cindy. It really gives you a lot more depth to her. It gives you a lot more sense of why you should care about her. And what this episode does is actually subvert what you previously thought with her and Greg, where he actually suddenly becomes less sympathetic and she becomes more sympathetic. So I really like that. So it's set over like the 3 anniversaries, so 93, 94, 95, as in their like wedding anniversary. So it starts off with them in 93, very sort of happy. And then we move forward. 94, they're sort of less happy because the tension over Jeanette is starting to happen. And also, Greg gets like a gift from Angela, from her just saying thank you for getting me the house. And Cindy's like, who's Angela? Which is sort of a funny line. In the present, we see that the marriage has gone, obviously ended, and now Angela is with Greg, and there's that whole thing. And we see Jeanette's sort of guilt over it, saying, you know, I kind of caused this. And Derek's a good brother. He's sort of there for us, says, no, you can't. Really, Kate's the one, and her family's the one who's caused all this. Whether you agree with him or not is a different matter, but certainly he sort of comes to Jeanette's defence. So we'll talk about Jeanette in a moment, but as I said, it's a really big episode for Cindy, because what we see is then she's the one who sort of starts cottoning on to what's going on with Jeanette. Now the house keep getting like phone calls, prank phone calls, and just people kind of leaving like mean messages, and it really starts getting to Cindy. But then it's sort of after one of the calls, she goes to Jeanette's room and starts fishing about, and she finds the key in the bottom of her jewellery box, and she talks to Greg about it. She says, I think she might have been in Martin Harris's house. I think she's got this key is to Martin Harris's house. And Greg's like, well, how do you jump to that? It's just a key. And Cindy says, well, let's go and find out. And Greg doesn't want anything to do with it. He's sort of in denial. So we actually see, although in many ways he's been shown to be a good father in the previous episode, we also see that maybe he doesn't want to face up to what's going on with his daughters, and it's just easier for him not to deal with it. Whereas Cindy, credit to her, is the one trying to deal with it. And before the scene with Greg, she actually asks Jeanette about it. You know, did you go in Harris's house? Did you take the key? And she's actually really supportive. She said, no matter what, if you just tell me the truth, we can get through that. In that scene, like, she's a really good parent, and Jeanette obviously denies it, doesn't say it. So that's when Cindy goes to Greg, and to me that's a good pattern. That's a good sign of being a parent. The fact that she went to Jeanette first, and then when she didn't get confirmation, she then goes to Greg. I mean, you could argue maybe she should just trust Jeanette, but she obviously had an instinct and something wasn't quite right, because obviously in the scene Jeanette's very nervous. It's not like she just came out playing, no mum, I didn't do that, don't worry, that sort of thing. So we actually see in some ways that maybe Greg isn't the best parent, or maybe isn't the sort of parent we believed him to be. And Cindy wants them to go and check the key to check if it opens Harris's door, and Greg's like, no, let's not do that. And we find out by the end of the episode that Cindy's done it anyway, and she's got her answer. It obviously opens the door. And we also see other stuff in their relationship than Cindy wanted a new career. She wanted a career as a flight attendant, partly because she wanted to see the world. And it shows us that Greg hasn't been the most supportive in that. He sort of has been very, well, no, we've got a family, let's do this, we've got to stay here and support the family. And it's not unreasonable for him to be saying these things, but also I think he has to appreciate Cindy has sacrificed a lot, and that maybe she deserves a shot at a new career, because after all she would be making like pretty good money to support the family at the same time. So we see that as a reason why the marriage didn't quite work, along with the Jeanette stuff. And yeah, there are moments in this episode where Greg is pretty sort of awful, but I also like the scene where Cindy goes and sees Angela, meeting her for the first time, and they just go to the bar, and it's a really nice scene actually, because there's a respect between them, because at one point Cindy says, I like you, Angela, I can see why Greg likes you. And Angela's a really likeable character, so she's been very mature about this, and has been like a mother figure to Jeanette. And also the reason Cindy's going to the bar is to make sure Jeanette's okay, and because Jeanette has sort of broken off contact with her. It's playing Cindy, I'm not sure she's the best. I thought some of her acting was a bit over the top in this, but you know, I think the character itself sort of comes into its own in this. It's a big episode, so I like that they sort of switched that around. Speaking of Jeanette in this episode, we get a little bit more of an insight to like the friendship with Vincent. We see that again there is like loyalty there, especially from Vincent, because even in the present day he's sort of standing by Jeanette. He sort of covers for her when like the media are like at her house and stuff, and sort of allows her to sneak out. So he's really loyal to her. And also we see an example of that in the past. We see, because the three of them, Mallory, Jeanette and Vincent, have gone to the mall, and the idea is that they're sort of stealing things as part of their list. So Vincent steals a CD at one point, and the alarm system goes off, and Jeanette takes the rap for him. She like takes the CD off him and takes the rap. So we see that there is sort of loyalty both ways. And it's actually when she's taken to like the office and stuff, like in the mall, that she meets Jamie for the first time. Another thing which is really cool about Vincent, and in this episode, is we find out that he's a Friday the 13th fan. So really this guy can do no wrong in my eyes, because when they're in the mall, he's sort of suggesting, well, part of our list has to be to see the new Friday the 13th, Jason Goes to Hell. He's saying this is going to be the best one. And I sort of like the line also about, I know they said number 4 was going to be the final chapter, but it's actually going to, this is going to be number 5. And now obviously we're like 12 movies down the line, but it's sort of funny, and it's a cool thing with Vincent, him being a Friday fan. This guy just gets even better, because we see a scene in the video store where he's first getting to know Ben, his boyfriend. I think they're together at this point, but they're having this moment where they're bonding over like Friday the 13th, and Jeanette walks in, says, don't worry, your secret's safe with me, and you're happy. I really like then you're happy. So it also does a lot for their friendship, this episode. I think it reconfirms how close they are, whereas with Mallory, maybe there's this sense that she just became one of the gang, but maybe there's never been this close bond with her and Jeanette the way there is Jeanette and Vincent. So that's all really good stuff, but I think it also sort of shows you how the changes in Jeanette impacts the group, especially Vincent. Maybe it hurts him the most. some of the things she's done, all the ways she's gone. So the other big plot in this episode is Tanya, who's the mother of, well, one of Jeanette's friends, or ex-friends as it is later, but one of Kate's friends, essentially. She claims to have this big bit of dirt on Jeanette, kind of has this stuff on Tanya, because in I think in the 93 part, Tanya's like flirting with like Martin Harris, and later on there's a TV interview where she's saying she'll, abuser, that kind of thing, and talking about how he was with her. And we cut to is going into like Martin Harris's house, and they come back, that being Tanya and Martin, and she has to sneak in the closet, and she's watching them. Tanya, she accidentally sets off like an alarm, or sets off the stereo, and that almost gives Jeanette away. But then Tanya's like, oh no, it was me, I set it off. But in any case, she then catches Jeanette in the closet afterwards, and basically it's one of those things where they agree, keep this secret, I won't tell. And is basically lying in a TV interview later, even though obviously we know that Martin is a scumbag and he is certainly with children, but in that instance he didn't do anything wrong. Who knows, he may have done, but he didn't do anything wrong in that case. So because it's in the video store where the other two girls comes in, and Jeanette's like, he's lying, and the other two girls, one of which it's her mother, so, and they've got a thing against Jeanette, so they're not going to believe her. But anyway, what sort of happens is then Jeanette has this stuff on her, not just the stuff with Harris, but also she knows of some fraud that she's been involved with, so she calls her bluff and says, I can make life difficult for you, I can bring this stuff out. And Tanya in the end she goes to talk to the lawyers. She actually ends up backing up Jeanette's story about not knowing Kate. The lawyer calls Jeanette up, and she just says, well, she backs up your story, and whether that's got anything to do with something you did or not, just don't tell me about it, I don't want to know. But it's maybe an insight into how sort of kind of sneaky and manipulative Jeanette has become, and how cutthroat she's become, which is a difference in her personality from the start. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and share me out on social media. If you're into something a bit more older, a bit more retro, then check out my Gilmore Girls reviews. I've been doing those. I'm up to season 2 now. I'm planning on doing the next review this week. Also, for something a bit more cult and edgy, I do the X-Files. I'm also on season 2 of that, so check out those reviews. Also, look out for my weekly live stream. So I do a weekly pilot stream when I look at a different TV pilot. So this week I will be doing Cruel Summer, as it happens, the pilot to that's this Wednesday. This Thursday I'll be continuing with the weekly quiz streams. So this week, as picked by last week's winner, I will be doing animated films. And Friday I will be doing a special horror stream, and that will be of A Stranger Calls. So streams coming up this week. Thanks for listening. See you guys again soon.